of our equipment, sophisticated equipments.
What is more important is the energy of the students. Energy of the students.
To see you, in a distant place, in a different situation.
This is the stage, this is the place where dreams come true. This is the stage, seven sisters fight, and you have come true. ERDF, USDF, and these are the trees that grows to love and admire all communities. We welcome you, Sir Abdul Mannan. We welcome you, Sir Sanjay Deshmukh. Nibidian Yapi Shaka USDM. Nibidian Snehamaya Tilobaye.
Professor Abdul Mannan Sir, Honorable University Grand Commission of Bangladesh, my mentor and former UGC Chairman of our great country India, Professor Ved Prakash Sir, former Vice Chancellor of University of Mumbai and Professor of Life Science, our Pro-Chancellor of this university, Professor Sanjay Deshmukh Sir.
With respect to what Honorable Chancellor of this great institution has mentioned, I would like to add to what our students had mentioned. We welcome you, Professor Abdul Mannan. We welcome you, Professor Ved Prakash. We welcome you, Professor Abdul Mannan. We welcome you, Professor Ved Prakash.
It's indeed a matter of great honor and a very special privilege for me to be here today in the company of Honorable Professor Abdul Mannan, whom I have known for many, many years. We have sat on common committees at the international level. And when Haq Saab contacted me and said that he would like to have me here on 24th, I said, tell me the reason. And he said that we have invited the Honorable Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Bangladesh, to deliver APJ Abdul Kalam Memorial Lecture. And he is going to speak on igniting global minds. I could not resist myself, and here I am. Let me tell you that people are not welcomed in their own homes. And therefore, I would, because Haq Sahab is younger to me, and therefore I can take the liberty of telling him that he should not have cut the marks of the coordinator.
Now, the moment we all are anticipating, the third Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Memorial Lecture. I would now like to request Professor Abdul Mannan Sir, Honorable Chairman UGC Bangladesh, to do the honors. Sir.
Honorable Chancellor of the University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, and ERD Foundation, Mr. Mahbubul Haq, respected Professor P.K. Goswami, the Vice Chancellor of the University, Pro-Vice Chancellor Madam Maloka Sharma, Professor Sanjay Deshmukh, former Vice Chancellor, University of Mumbai, Professor Ved Prakash, former Chairman of the University Grants Commission of India, and we have just seen that arrival of the Assistant High Commissioner of Bangladesh to Northeast India, Mr. Dr. Tanveer Mansoor, distinguished guests, Dear students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, and good afternoon. When I was coming, our friend here, Professor Deshmukh, said, "How long will you be speaking? 1 hour?" Because he has a flight to catch at 5. So he was trying to get an excuse to leave early. I said, when I started teaching in the university in 1973, the first course I taught was communication. And the first lesson said, if you can keep the audience 10 minutes with you, you are a successful communicator. If you lose them in 10 minutes, it will be very difficult to get them back. So I promised him that I'll not speak for 1 hour, but I'll have to do some justice to the extraordinary hospitality shown by this university, especially Mr. Mahbul Haq and his colleagues, since yesterday. And we have still the day and tomorrow even. So I would be not speaking for 1 hour. When I was asked to speak, I readily agreed, but for me it's very difficult to find a slot to come. Originally, Mr. Mahbul Haq asked me to come during the convocation, but at that time I was traveling with the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh to United Nations. So I said, "Sir, I'm extremely sorry that I cannot make it." Then he said, "Okay, we'll invite you at your convenience to come and speak in this auspicious ceremony, the APJ Abdul Kalam Memorial Lecture." I readily agreed. So the timing was set by me and he agreed. So thank you, Mr. Mahbul Haq. You know, in Bangladesh, APJ Abdul Kalam is more or less a household name, especially amongst the academicians and the students, because he's often quoted just for one quotation. Says, "Don't dream while you are sleeping. Dream that will not allow you to sleep." There are many people who dreamt. We all dream. But 2 persons' dream have gone down in history for posterity. One is the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King. I would request my friends, young friends here, go, if you have not done already, go to the YouTube, find the speech by Dr. Martin Luther King, a civil rights leader in USA in the 60s. Martin Luther King was not a politician. He was a pastor, someone who preached, padre in a church. In those days, America was going through a very difficult time. The segregation, the racism. The blacks were fighting for their rights as equal citizens. So Dr. Martin Luther King gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. In August, I think this was 21st of August in 1961. And he spoke for 2 minutes. And he sat down. And the gathering was not only blacks, but many whites as well. Everybody, cheered him. But a friend from sitting at his back, he said, "Martin, tell the people of your dream." So Martin Luther King gets up again. And he speaks for the second time. The title of this speech is, "I Have a Dream." What was he dreaming for? He was not dreaming to become the President of the United States. He was not dreaming to become a senator or a congressman or somebody whom people respected for their post and position. He dreamt for the equality of the people, for the mankind, for the human being, for the blacks, for the whites, everybody. He said, I have a dream. The dream, in my dream, I see the black and white children going to the same school and playing in the same park. Can I take this off, please? It's a little bit warm. I have a dream where I can see the churches are not segregated. There is no such thing as a God for blacks and God for whites. I have a dream to see that whoever wants to pray going to the same church, there is no black God and no white God. The other person about whose dream we all talk about is late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Immediately after his death, I read a small feature by his personal aide, Srijan Pal Singh. And he was the person who was with him during the last hours. And he wrote some of his memories. And in one place he writes, Dr. Kalam would often ask Srijan, you are young. Decide what will you like to be remembered for. Srijan writes, quote, I kept thinking of new impressive answers till one day I gave up and resorted to tit for tat. And I asked him back, first you tell me, what will you like to be remembered for? President, scientist, writer, missile man, India 2020, target 3 billion, what? I thought I had made the question easier by giving options, but he sprang on me a surprise. And what he said? Teacher. He said, without even blinking an eye. So, teacher is something that we all come across from our childhood, in the school days, to the university level. I am a teacher. Most of our friends here are teachers, sitting here or sitting down. I'm sure that all of them, even if they have grown old, they have retired, their students will never forget them if they have performed the task of a responsible teacher. So that is what my focus was when I was drafting this lecture. I'm not sure I'll be doing justice to this great man by delivering this lecture. In the beginning, I would like to express my gratitude to the authorities of the University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, for giving me this opportunity to deliver the third APJ Abdul Kalam Memorial Lecture. You have not only honored me, but also have honored my country, Bangladesh, and our University Grants Commission. Your invitation was as welcome as it was unexpected. I'm delighted to be here. We have gathered here this afternoon to honor a great man, the former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, whom I revere first as a teacher, then as a scientist, and finally as the former President of India. Why do I say this? When the late Dr. Kalam was visiting children's school, as you know, Kalam was a bachelor. He loved children. In all his official tours, he would ask that he would like to spend some time with the school kids, with children. A small boy asked him, How could he become like Dr. Kalam? The president looked at the child and told him that becoming the president of India was perhaps easier than becoming a good teacher and a scientist. For the first of these, one has to be an Indian citizen, be of sound mental health, and free from any moral turpitude. But to become a teacher and a scientist, one has to painstakingly and doggedly acquire knowledge throughout one's life, have commitment to one's profession, and the urge to improve and update one's stock of knowledge on a regular basis. He also said there was no short path to the world of knowledge and wisdom. When the former president died of a massive heart attack in Shillong on July 27, 2015, I wrote a commentary felicitating this great man in one of our leading national English dailies, that is Daily Star, with the title, quote, Adieu APJ Abdul Kalam, the teacher. I began my commentary by quoting the national poet of Scotland, Robert Burns, who died in 1793. He writes, an honest man here lies at rest, as here, that is ever, God with his image blessed, the friend of man, the friend of truth, the friend of age and guide of youth. Few hearts like his, with virtue warmed, few heads and knowledge so informed. If there is another world, he lives in bliss. If there is none, he made the best of this. Unquote. In 2002, Dr. Kalam published the book Ignited Minds. And its preface he wrote, quote, nation consists of people, and with their efforts a nation can accomplish all it could ever want. Throughout his life, the late Dr. Kalam tried to motivate his country's people and its youth because he saw the future of a nation lay especially with them, how they are groomed and from human beings transformed into human resources. This is more than ever true for countries of Asia, a continent that has been ravaged and plundered by colonial powers for centuries. These colonial powers, through their looting of the resources of countries like India and China, not only reduced these nations from once economic superpowers to dependent countries, but also reduced the status of their people to that of paupers, subjecting them to abject poverty, social backwardness, denying them access to proper education and the seeking of knowledge. And these Asian countries that had engendered knowledge and conjured up innovations for all of mankind for centuries, untold, were left out of the developed world. However, with globalization, the boundaries of knowledge were broken down and newer options became available. The tradition of hand-holding to development was phased out, and countries were left to themselves to find their own ways towards their actualization. The era of globalization opened up opportunities for leapfrogging to development, and today countries like India, China, or even my own Bangladesh have not only proven that they can reclaim their lost glory, but also leave behind countries that were once economic superpowers and graduate from least developed countries to developing and developed countries. Let us take the example of the countries like China, India, Japan, Indonesia, South Korea, Malaysia, and the Philippines, Bangladesh, and Vietnam. All these countries struggled under colonial rule for more than 2 centuries in some cases. Japan was bombed to smithereens in the dying days of the Second World War. Vietnam not only struggled under its colonial masters, but also was ravaged by one of the most brutal wars of the last century. Once industrially rich India's backbone was broken by the English overlords during their 2 centuries of subjugation, and an agricultural country like Bangladesh witnessed the total destruction of its infrastructure during our liberation war of 1971, when 3 million of its people lost their lives. Yet, in a matter of 4 decades, everything has changed, and today, China has been ranked as the #1 economic superpower by the IMF and the World Bank, followed by the United States. India is in 3rd position. This is GDP PP, purchasing power parity. Bangladesh, for which nobody saw any hope and future in 1972, today is 32nd in rank and poised to become 26th by 2030. This year, it has stepped onto the first rungs of the ladder on its journey to becoming developing country by 2021. At the current rate of economic growth, that is currently, just last month it was 7.26, maybe it has increased a bit right now. It is expected that it can achieve this goal even before then. The countries of Asia that I have mentioned are endowed with a higher potential resource than any Western land. What is this resource? Their young population, you, which has to be transformed into human resources capable of riding the wave of the 4th industrial revolution. This terminology was coined by Dr. Klaus Schwab, the CEO of the World Economic Forum. A revolution not dependent on natural resources, but on human intelligence, knowledge, and wisdom, about which I will speak a little bit later. The earth population statistics of some of the Asian countries are remarkable. According to the United Nations, with 355 million people between the age of 10 and 24, India has the world's largest youth population. Despite having a smaller population than China, China is second with 269 million people, followed by Indonesia, 67, Pakistan, 59 million, and Bangladesh, 48 million. This comes from the UNFPA report. Of the total population of the world, that is 7.7 billion, 59.66% lives in Asia. China and India constitutes 35% of the global population, meaning every 3rd person in the world is either a Chinese or an Indian. This is remarkable. Of the total Asia's population, 14% is below the age of 24. They are potential change makers of tomorrow, and that tomorrow is approaching very fast, faster than many of us realize. The approaching tomorrow, in some cases it is already here, will be characterized by emergence of the 4th industrial revolution. Before we discuss this though, let's take a look into the other 3 revolutions. Globalization and industrial revolution evolved together, one complementing the other. In the history of civilization, globalization happened in 3 phases. The first phase began in 1492, when Christopher Columbus accidentally hit upon the shores of American continent, and continued till 1800. Following the newly discovered sea route by Columbus, other European traders set sail towards the west in search of commodities to be brought back to Europe and sold at high price. At the same time, Europeans also set out to the east in their sailboats. Before the Europeans and the eastern trade was monopolized by the Arab traders. Even before the Arab traders, the Romans were in the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. These European trade ventures were led by the Portuguese, Spaniards, Italians, and the Dutch, and later on, the English. European trade ushered in the era of the 1st industrial revolution in Europe in the middle of the 17th century. The discovery of steam as an alternative source of energy enhanced production capability, first in England and subsequently on continental Europe. To fuel the industrial revolution, production houses needed raw materials for the factories and the markets for the finished goods. This led to the beginning of the colonization. During this regime, agriculture and rural society got the taste of urban life and culture. The introduction of the steam engine gave birth to the factory system of production. First in textiles, the world shrank from large to medium size, or started to shrink and become smaller and smaller. The second phase of globalization began in 1800 and continued till 2000. During the period, many Western industrially developed countries witnessed economic recessions, along with the terrible scars of the two world wars. Simultaneously, multinational corporations emerged and began spreading their activities across national frontiers, primarily looking for cheap labor and markets for their goods and services. The era also witnessed a revolution in transport. Rail networks were established in countries like the US, China, and India. The ocean-going shipbuilding industry thrived, and new ports were established while the old ones went through renovation and reconstruction. The railway system, seafaring vessels, the ports were all primarily used to exploit and transfer natural resources from the countries of Asia, Latin America, Africa, and to Europe. New cities thrived by depleting the resources of these countries. The colonial powers consolidated their direct and indirect rule over many of the countries, notably India, China, Indonesia, Malaya, and regions of Africa, Central Asia, and Middle East. During this age, wireless communication and the telephone made their appearance. Towards the end of the 20th century came fiber
The recipient of honorary D.Litt from University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, Professor Abdul Mannan sir, Honorable Chairman, University Grant Commission, Bangladesh, our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Dr. P.K. Goswami sir, other dignitaries on the dais, very eminent academicians and Vice Chancellors from various universities of in and around Guwahati, professors, ladies and gentlemen, media friends. Today we have two functions. The first part is our special convocation, and just to clarify that Professor Mannan sir was supposed to receive the doctorate from our convocation, but the time was not coinciding, and later on we have communicated with the Honorable Governor of Meghalaya, and he has given the consent. But unfortunately he got a call from President of India and he rushed to Delhi, and therefore this program has been made today. And we are fortunate enough that so many Vice Chancellors, the Vice Chancellor of Guwahati University, Vice Chancellor of National Law University, Vice Chancellor of Assam Science Technology University, Vice Chancellor of Downtown University, all they are present, Director of ISST, and so many other academicians.
Technology, Meghalaya is pleased to honor Professor Abdul Mannan with the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters for his outstanding contribution in the field of academic administrator, policy formulation, promotion of quality of higher education and research in Bangladesh.
I admit Professor Abdul Mannan to the honorary degree of Doctors of Letters and charge you that ever in your life and conversation you show yourself worthy of the same.
Honoris causa for my humble contribution to higher education in my country. Since my arrival in this beautiful city, though my arrival was pretty late, we had to travel quite a lot, which this city or this city of Meghalaya and Guwahati resembles, as the British would say, the Scotland of the East or India. Care and friendliness shown to me just was overwhelming. It not only made me feel at home, but made me feel that I never left home. Thank you, my brothers, friends, and colleagues. I am humbled. By bestowing this prestigious degree on me, you have not only honored me, but also honored my country, Bangladesh, as well. I dedicate this honor to my parents, to my teachers, to my family members, to thousands of students that I have taught over the last 4 decades, and my colleagues that I have spent time with. The state of Meghalaya is one of the closest states of India, bordering Bangladesh, surrounded by 2 sides by 3 divisions of Bangladesh. The region shares many things in common, from culture to language and religion. During our War of Liberation in 1971, all the neighboring states of India, including Meghalaya and Assam, opened their borders and received our fleeing refugees and shared their food and shelter. We have shed blood with the soldiers of India for the liberation of Bangladesh. The people of Bangladesh will always remain grateful to you for your humane gesture during those difficult times. My dear brothers and friends, the time I was growing up, education was not only considered a luxury, but was elusive for middle and lower middle income class families like us. However, my late parents struggled to send us to school with their humble income, but they did send my 4 brothers and 2 sisters to school. My sisters got married after high school, but due to sheer determination of our parents, all the brothers finished their university education with distinction. Since we graduated, time has changed in Bangladesh, and today, out of 160 million population, 3.8 million students are enrolled in tertiary level education. Bangladesh has the 4th largest students at the tertiary level education in Asia, after China, India, and Indonesia. If you take the total student population of my country, currently 5.5 million, 5 million people are in some phases of schooling from primary to university level. During my time, only about 30% of 75 million population were considered educated, that is, one who could sign his name. Today, literacy rate is 72% in Bangladesh, higher than many countries of the region, excepting Sri Lanka. My dear friends, I would again like to express my sincere gratitude for the extraordinary gesture shown to me by you today. The memories which I will take back with me will be one of my prized possession, and I am sure that the bridge that we have built during this visit today and tomorrow and day after will be long-lasting and grow stronger by the day. আমার এই বক্তৃতা শেষ করতে চাই আমার মাতৃভাষা বাংলায় কয়েকটি বাক্য দিয়ে। আপনারা জানেন ভারতে জন্মগ্রহণকারী কবি কাজী নজরুল ইসলাম বাংলাদেশের জাতীয় কবি। তিনি শায়িত আছেন ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের মসজিদ সংলগ্ন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় কবরস্থানে। 1929 সালের 15 ডিসেম্বর কলকাতার অ্যালবার্ট হলে বাংলার সকল শ্রেণী ও ধর্মের মানুষের পক্ষ হতে কবিকে এক নাগরিক সংবর্ধনা দেওয়া হয়, যাতে সভাপতিত্বের দায়িত্ব পালন করেন বিজ্ঞানাচার্য শ্রী প্রফুল্লচন্দ্র রায়। উপস্থিত ছিলেন নেতাজি সুভাষচন্দ্র বসু। সেই সংবর্ধনা অনুষ্ঠানে দেওয়া কবির বক্তৃতা হতে সামান্য কিছু উদ্ধৃতি করে আমি আমার বক্তৃতা শেষ করতে চাই। তিনি বলেছিলেন, কোট, বন্ধুগণ, আপনারা যে সওগাত আজ হাতে তুলে দিলেন আমি তা মাথায় তুলে নিলুম। আমার সকল তনু মন প্রাণ আজ বীণার মতো বেজে উঠেছে, তাতে শুধু একটি সুর ধ্বনিত হয়ে উঠেছে, আমি ধন্য হলুম, আমি ধন্য হলুম। আজ আপনারা আমাকে যে সম্মানসূচক ডিলিট ডিগ্রি দিলেন, এক কথায় তার জন্য আমি আজ গর্বিত। এই গর্ববোধ করা ও সম্মান প্রদানের মধ্যে আমাদের দায়িত্ব নিহিত আছে।
Today's honored guest and the recipient of Honorary Delete Award, Janab Abdul Mannan sir, the Assistant High Commissioner, Bangladesh to Northeast, Mr. Mansoor Tariq, dignitaries present on the dais, eminent educationists present in the audience, dear friends, media people and students, good evening, namaskar, salam alaikum. I just have a few things to say. Mainly, the Education Minister of Assam has very graciously accepted our invitation to be part of this evening at a very short notice. Thank you very much, sir. Your encouragement and your presence and your willingness to be associated with USTM will go a long way for us to go ahead in life and ahead in society. Today's recipient of Delete Award, Janab Abdul Mannan sir, he has been gracious enough to accept our invitation, though he himself is the chairperson of UGC in Bangladesh. He gives degrees to others and he guides the framework to grant degrees to so many recipients, but he has been humble enough, he has been gracious enough to accept our invitation and come here. Thank you very much, sir. The intellectual minds and convergence of academia for betterment of society of both India and Bangladesh.
Good evening, Sri Siddharth Bhattacharjee, Honorable Education Minister of Assam, Professor Abdul Mannan, Honorable UGC Chairman of Republic of Bangladesh, distinguished Vice Chancellors and Directors of Universities and Institutions of Repute, eminent dignitaries, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I, on behalf of University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, and Office of the Assistant High Commissioner of Bangladesh to India, welcomes you all to the interactive session on collaboration opportunities in the field of higher education between Bangladesh and Northeast India.
साथ चलने की हर दूरियों फासलों को दूर हटाने की है हमें विश्वास। साथ चलने की हर दूरियों फासलों को दूर हटाने की आशाओं के सफर में रास्ता हो सुहाना। जीतेंगे हम, हमें है ये निभाना, आप रहे प्रेरणा यूं हमारी, हम सदा रहे आपके आभारी। This is the stage, it is the place where dreams come true. Yes, it's the stage, seven sisters mine, and you are all true. ERDF, USDF, and these are the trees that grows to love and admire all communities. We welcome you, Sir Sridhar Bhattacharya. We welcome you, Sir Abdul Mannan. La 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 la.
Thank you, students. We have with us very eminent dignitaries today, and we would like to take this opportunity to felicitate them. I would request our Honorable Chancellor Mahbubul Haq sir to kindly felicitate Sri Siddharth Bhattacharya sir, Honorable Minister of Education, Government of Assam. We would like to request Dr. Shah Mahmood Tanveer Mansoor to felicitate the Honorable Minister with a citation from the High Commission of Bangladesh. We have with us today a guest from Bangladesh, Professor Abdul Mannan. We would request the Honorable Minister of Education, Government of Assam, Sri Siddharth Bhattacharya sir, to kindly felicitate our guest from Bangladesh.
Chairman of Bangladesh University Grants Commission, Professor Abdul Mannan sir, Honorable Chancellor of USTM, Mr. Mahbubul Haq sir, and Vice Chancellor Dr. Aloka Sharma, Dr. P.K. Goswami, and Vice Chancellor Dr. Aloka Sharma, and all the respected Vice Chancellors in the dais. A very good evening. Actually, because of a shortage of time, I'm going to cut short my speech, and I will use one PowerPoint show to introduce you to the Bangladesh's economic growth. And then, in the second part of my speech, I shall discuss on today's topic, that is bilateral collaboration in higher education. Successfully suffice all the required indicators to become a middle income country. And her long-term goal is to make Bangladesh a developed country within 2041. And what are the mean for achieving that goal? It's to implement digital technology throughout all the villages, upajelas, jilas, and all the government and private organizations. Why Bangladesh is important for Northeast? Bangladesh has offered 100 special economic zones for the foreign companies or trade corporations, and out of that, already 3 economic zones have been offered to Indian corporate bodies. One is in Mongla, one is in Mirasharai, and one is in Bheramara. And out of these 100 economic zones, 20s are located at the northern part of Bangladesh, and Bangladesh has already offered that special facilities and incentives will be provided for the Indian companies. So when at the bank of the rivers of Brahmaputra, Yamuna, or Surma Kushera, these factories, means will be established. You see the change in the pattern of economy of India and Bangladesh.
Now we are having an interesting session on bilateral collaborations in higher education between India and Bangladesh. As we all are aware, both the governments of India and Bangladesh are very keen on having better relations.
First, I welcome Dr. Mannan to Assam and also congratulate him for being conferred a D.Litt degree by USTM, which is a leading university in the private sector in the Northeast. Now, coming to the subject that is being discussed today, collaborative opportunities in the field of higher education between Bangladesh and India. Let me remind you all that this collaboration existed prior to partition. I remember a few of my relatives, they had studied in Murari Chand College in Sylhet, and I remember one of my uncle from my in-laws side, he was a student of engineering, and he subsequently became the chief engineer of PWD in Assam. That degree was taken in some engineering college in Dhaka, I presume. And I also remember that prior to partition, Dhaka University's medical college, in fact, that was not a college then, that was a school, like like Whiteberry School in Dibrugarh. They used to train up people in the modern medical field. In the bitterness of partition, maybe this link got cut off. And subsequently, Bangladesh has evolved. I'll not go into the details or into the political aspect of that. But with evolution of Bangladesh, Bangladesh also had somehow or the other gone into a period of rise of fundamentalism in that country.
I would like to first thank our Assistant High Commissioner, Dr. Shah Mohammad Tanveer Mansoor, for giving an excellent presentation. And also the Honorable Education Minister of Assam for his remarks. During his speech, he mentioned about Dibrugarh. Not many people mentions about Dibrugarh. It brings back some of my memories from early days. Not that I happen to have anything to do with Dibrugarh, neither was I born when whatever I'm talking about Dibrugarh happened. The headquarters of the Assam Bengal Railway was in Chittagong, my district, the district I come from. And in 1944, when the Japanese army overran Myanmar or Burma, it was thought that the fall of Chittagong onward to India is imminent. So one institution or one government office decided to relocate. That was the headquarters of Assam Bengal Railway to Dibrugarh. And the Assam Bengal Railway headquarters is very close to my ancestral home in Chittagong. And a lot of my local people, my relatives, used to work for the Assam Bengal Railway. So they packed up and left Chittagong for Dibrugarh and set up a temporary office of Assam Bengal Railway in Assam, in Dibrugarh. So see, we are talking of connectivity, relationship today in 2018. the connectivity, the relationship between and amongst people of this subcontinent, especially of this part of India, goes back for centuries. We perhaps do not realize some of this silent revolution that has taken place in recent times. Tripura wanted to have a power plant installed in Paltola, a place in Tripura. They needed to transport oversized power plant equipments. It was absolutely impossible for the government of Tripura to transport those equipments, oversized equipments to Tripura. The government of Bangladesh came forward and allowed one of the largest river port, Ashuganj, where the oversized these power plant equipments were brought to Ashuganj. There was a river, not a very small river, but these huge barges could not enter that river. The river was dammed temporarily. The oversized equipments was put on transport, land transport, the big trailers carried over this river. And Dhaka-Chittagong highway is the busiest highway between Dhaka and Chittagong because of the port in Chittagong. The government stopped all the traffic so that the power plant equipments meant for Paltola in Tripura could move from Ashuganj to Tripura. And there were a lot of criticisms from the opposition. But our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said, I'm not doing this for India or for any country. I am doing this for the people, for the neighboring people, the people who helped us in 1971. Many of you perhaps would not realize how the people of Tripura, the West Bengal, where maximum exodus happened in 1971, the local people helped us. The Maharani of Tripura even vacated her palace for the refugees. These are extraordinary gestures, goes unnoticed, silently. The opening up of Chittagong port and Mongla port for transshipment and transit of goods and commodities for Indian states of Northeast and East has happened in the recent times. The protocol has to be signed. Imagine the economic consequence of such a gesture. Once in a while, when there is a big rainfall, there is a landslide, the railway system is broken down in Tripura and in those places, Bangladesh always shipped hundreds of tons of food grains through Bangladesh. It could be either Indian food grain or Bangladesh food grain to the states of Tripura, because we cannot allow our neighbors to go starving where we are eating. So that is what relationship is all about. So we are talking about collaboration in higher education. Now let me very briefly give what University Grants Commission in Bangladesh is all about. It is more or less same, the mandate is same as it's in India, but in Indian University Grants Commission is a little bit more powerful than our University Grants Commission. We have only one University Grants Commission centrally, but in India, I believe you have one centrally and there are other offices around the country. The University Grants Commission is the apex body that monitors all the universities, both public and private in the country. Currently, there are 49 public universities. When I say public university, these are publicly funded. And there are about 103 private universities. These are not publicly funded, but they are within the jurisdiction of the University Grants Commission's rules and regulations. They cannot do anything.
Honorable Minister of Education, Assam, Sri Siddhartha Bhattacharya, Professor Abdul Manan, Dr. Mansoor, my esteemed colleague Vice Chancellors, Chancellor USTM, Mr. Mahbubul Haq, and distinguished scholars, teachers of USTM. Well, most of the things have been spoken by Honorable Minister and Abdul Manan regarding the relationship and the foundation of these two countries. These two countries, we had civilizational linkage, and it goes much beyond the recent history. And obviously, it is the re-establishment of this civilizational linkage through this type of programs is very important. And what is more important today, we are a leading university in Northeast India, oldest university in Northeast India, Guwahati University. And we have 48 departments. We offer recent new courses. We have introduced new programs like cancer biology, radiological physics. These are some areas where 100% employment is assured, because our students coming out of the radiological field all are employed across the country. And we have new program like Southeast Asia program. We have East and Southeast Asia, Diploma in East and Southeast Asia, and we are trying to really establish the track to diplomacy through higher educational linkage. In the meantime, we already had developed linkage with Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and we have student exchange programs with Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Bhutan, and we have cross-cultural exchange also, and we feel that Bangladesh is definitely our next destination, and we will be very happy to go and provide the platform for their students to come to our university. We have special package for SAARC countries as far as the fee structure is concerned, and a special package we are going to offer for the Bangladeshi students. And therefore, it is a large university with 48 departments, rise from science, humanities, social science, and management and technology. All these are available in law, and I'm sure that will fit in somewhere or the other as far as the Bangladeshi students are concerned. And this is what is very important, that our whole relationship lies with the fact that we have to act this program that we have introduced in our university through Southeast Asian Study Center, and this has taken the things forward for all the countries in Southeast Asia, and I'm sure that the 5,000 kilometers of international border that we have in Northeast India, and out of that nearly 20% of the border is with Bangladesh, and I'm sure that it will be very convenient for both the countries to exchange students and go for cross-cultural exchanges and ensure a much better relationship as a part of the track to diplomacy. Thank you very much.
Distinguished dignitaries on the dais and ladies and gentlemen. National Law University, Assam is a very young university, kickstarting its activities in the year 2011. We are doing LLB, LLM and PhD programs, and our LLM specialization is in 5 branches: constitutional law, business and corporate law, environmental law, human rights, and intellectual property rights, wherein we can plan some collaborative activities. And we are working with the government of Assam as the Honorable Assistant High Commissioner was mentioning about inland waterways management activities. There is a bilateral agreement between the Government of India and Government of Bangladesh. We are providing legal support, our research team, to the Government of Assam in building a new package of law in the PPP model for building a robust inland water management system in Assam, especially Brahmaputra tributaries and all that. We have already prepared the bill. It probably will be passed in the coming assembly session. And we are also planning to build 2 corporations, one for the management of vessels and the other for the management of ports. So for all these things, it is a 130 million World Bank supported project, mega project of the government of Assam. So I think it can be scaled up with Bangladesh, partnering with Bangladesh, and then National Law University will be willing to assist the government of Bangladesh along with the government of Assam in building this collaborative activity to make a robust, not only economic activities, transit activity, but also cultural integrity, which is coming of late in the area. And in addition to that, we are also planning to build our space lab with ISRO, support of ISRO, Space Law Research Project at the initiative of Honorable Chief Minister of the government of Assam. That will also go a long way. And we have a very robust child rights center supported by UNICEF, because in northeastern area, it should be there in Bangladesh also. We need to build a good package of the securing legal regulation of the children suffering with loss of rights in moral trafficking. So many things are there. We have 5 to 6, the already robust research centers. In addition to this, we are planning a few more research centers. We have a package of 30 research centers. We are the only national law university out of 23 national law universities in the country in the northeastern states, providing a very qualitative legal education. And we have 5 seats for foreigners. And I can think in terms of providing special, the package for the students coming from Bangladesh, which will be of great help in providing that kind of a quality education which you will get in Harvard or Oxford will be available in a national law university in Assam itself, which will be much cheaper than what you are getting at Harvard. And we have collaboration with people at Harvard, Oxford. Many university faculty will come and teach here, and that will provide at least some 2 or 3 students every year can come from Bangladesh to take this special course on either LLB program or LLM program. You can also have exchange programs and research projects, and I will be more than willing to visit Bangladesh to explore. You mentioned about a private law university, and some of the universities which are coming up, we can collaborate with them and then build a robust, and very importantly, I am especially working on the comparative law project with, you see, unless we incorporate China along with us, it becomes extremely difficult for the South Asian countries to go robust and then build that superpower structure, regional superpower structure for the South Asian countries. So we have to build a very robust comparative law research institution as it has been done in Beijing and in Taiwan and some places. And we are planning that kind of an institute here. You can plan one such institute in Bangladesh, so that cultural, the kind of an identity and decolonization of our minds and then building indigenous, the jurisprudence is very, very important. That will go a very long way in building our autonomy, legal autonomy, which will help in building our cultural autonomy and our social autonomy.
Professor Mannan from Bangladesh UGC, and Dr. Mansoor, my fellow colleagues, Dr. Hawk, and my fellow colleagues on the dais as well as on in front of me. I'm just going back 120 years. There were only 2 government colleges in Northeast India. So the first was established, Murari Chand College, 1892, and then the second government college was, if I am not wrong, it was 1901, Cotton College. So at that time, so that way it continued. A time was there when during the Second World War, it was said that Cotton College, mostly it was, the teachers' classes were not held because of the Second World War and all. So many teachers were given the option that you can go to Murari Chand College. So that way there was a very good relations between that. And once I read somewhere that in the football there was an inter-college tournament. Each time Murari Chand College wins that for the last maybe 15, 20 years. But in 1 year, our player, Ao was at that time, Cotton College owned that. So therefore, I just want that now it has become an university, and Murari Chand College, Sylhet, is still there. So we want some sort of that relationship, again, we want to grow that. And I hope that way we will have a, but because I know that that's also a good institute, and Northeast India, Cotton University is also a good institute. So therefore, we will have some sort of program like that. And many things has already been said, and I hope the relationship between Bangladesh and India, especially Northeast, will grow in the coming few decades, and especially with cotton and especially some of the institute, I think if we have this same relationship that we had 100 years back, maybe we want them back. So thank you all very much.
On the dais, dignitaries in the hall, friends, students, ladies and gentlemen. Let me also go back in time to the time when I was studying with my Bangladeshi. At that time it was not Bangladesh, but they were struggling. Freedom fight was on when I was with my friends from Bangladesh studying together in Moscow way back in 70s. And at that time, the way we felt the excitement of the help that was given by India for such a noble cause. Now, times have evolved, and in fact, I have come back to this region of the country after about 50 years, and I see that we need to progress. For progress, at this moment, I think technology is a must. Therefore, we do need to develop technologies. We need not bring something, we need not invent the wheel, but we need to adapt technologies for the region so that we can have regional development on the whole. And Bangladesh is, I would say, environmentally very similar to where we are sitting right now. Therefore, we can extend help to each other so that we can bring in these high technologies for our use in our region. I am from a university which is fairly new, and we have all the engineering colleges of Assam affiliated to this university. We have right now a technology enhancement program also with the help of from Government of India, which is trying to bring in a uniform standard of education in all our engineering colleges. We could actually extend a similar standard together with our colleagues and friends from Bangladesh. In our, under this program, we are starting a special center for research hub, and this hub would have a few very high technologies to be developed for the regional use, for the benefit of the society. For example, waste management through very high technologies, or water purification through very high technologies, or water filtration processes which is useful for for not only the Northeast, but I think it would be very useful for our colleagues or the people in Bangladesh as well.
Very distinguished eminent personality in the dais, of the dais, and my colleagues. I think when you say higher education, I do not know whether I exactly fit, my institution fits in that. We are a scientific research organization under Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. This institution has a very long history. It was established way back in 1979, but in 2009, Government of India took it over as a multidisciplinary autonomous research organization. And if you talk about Northeast India, there are only 3 full-fledged national institutes under Ministry of Science and Technology, and also one under CSIR, that's NIST CSI Laboratory, then Institute of Bioresources and Sustainable Development under Ministry of Science and Technology, but under Department of Biotechnology, and the one we have now in Baragaon, Institute of Advanced Study in Science and Technology, under Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Now, as far as this involvement of our institute in a bilateral collaborative mode for enhancing research for the region, Southeast region, I think we can offer certain things. See, like from climate perspective, from bioresource perspective, Bangladesh, Assam or Northeast do not have much difference. You suffer from the same floods. Assam recurrent way suffer from floods. Now, I heard somebody say that excellent disaster management in the Bangladesh. I think the first thing, if Assam has to learn from Bangladesh, is how to cope up with flood. We have been talking a lot about control of flood, but we are now, perhaps our whole philosophy of thought must change, that we have to talk about how to live with flood. Like you might heard about earlier, he was the director of India Tropical Institute of Tropical Monsoon Research, Dr. Bhavesh Chandra Goswami, Dr. Abhinath Goswami. He has been with us in this institute last 1 year. What he says that we need to develop a model for this region, a flood forecasting model. If we have a model by which we can say that next month or within 15 days there has to be heavy flood, so people can move to safe place. If we can come up with a model, then there can be alternative arrangement. Forget about controlling flood either in Assam or Bangladesh. We have to live with that. So this can be one area where we can strengthen our whole approach to developing a model for flood forecasting. This is one way. The other way is, I said, that bioresource research. Like this region has, in our institute or Institute of Bioresource and Sustainable Development, we've been doing substantial amount of research on bioresource utilization, converting the bioresource into products for economic development, or rather bioresource to bioeconomy. So there can be a synergy. If some of the Bangladesh universities or institutions, we can join hands together. I am not at this moment sure which are the organization dealing with bioresource research, but since today is the beginning, we are going to learn more, and there can definitely be collaboration, signing up MOU, so that there can be a synergy for the region, because the research is very interesting. Like when you do something in Bangladesh, you discover some new thing in Bangladesh, you discover a way of using a particular resource in Bangladesh, that can directly be transferred here. You don't have to repeat the research again. That's the beauty in research. So this kind of collaboration, this kind of initiative, I think is not only higher education, but also scientific research. Both the region will be able to benefit tremendously. I am always ready to involve in such kind of collaboration, and some teams, as you said, like Assistant High Commissioner said, is going to visit. I would also request them to also have a visit to the institution. As Dr. Mannan said, that there are sophisticated, very state-of-the-art equipment containing laboratory in Bangladesh, to which people from developing countries come. In the same tone, if I say the institute that we have in Baragaon, ISST, is equipped with all kind of sophisticated equipment. So once your people, when they visit, come and see us, what are the probable areas of collaboration, we'll be able to find out. I won't take much time, and thank you very much for inviting me and give me the opportunity to share my view and what we can offer for this greater cause. Thank you very much.
Honorable Education Minister, for your information, that we started inviting all the Vice Chancellors just yesterday. And I am very grateful to all the Vice Chancellor of Northeastern Universities. They never say no to the appeal of USTM. They always say yes. This is the problem, actually. And Dr. Patil sir, who is sitting just in my right side, it was the first talking with the earlier Vice Chancellor I know, but I don't know you personally. But when I called and I introduced me from USTM, that he welcomed me very nicely, although it telephonically. So I want to say, sir, one thing, that we have discussed something. We must continue it. And today is not possible, already it is late. Can I propose something in front of Honorable Education Minister and UGC Chairman of Bangladesh? If we can make 7 Vice Chancellors present here within 24 hours or 48 hours, if we take 1 hour, 1 month time, and if we organize certain kind of Vice Chancellors interaction somewhere in the Sylhet, near to Meghalaya and Assam also, from Karimganj, from my city, Karimganj city, it is only 1.5 hour journey. And if we take one month time and we make a kind of a plan, and if Assistant High Commissioner is facilitating and UGC Chairman is doing the work from the center, and we from USTM and also Education Minister is present here, if we make it 20 Vice Chancellors from Northeastern India, and at least 50 Vice Chancellors from universities of Bangladesh, because it will be hosting in the Sylhet, so you must be double. So if such kind of interaction is there and some kind of strategic issues and discussion, I think it will be fruitful and it will carry forward our agenda, what we have discussed today. This is my only proposal to all of you. And I want to listen your comments, UGC Chairman comments, and also some Education Minister comments, and Assistant High Commissioner comments on my proposal, so that everyone will be knowing the future course of action and we can plan. And all the Vice Chancellors present here, I think, sir, if we organize in Sylhet, will you go or not? Sir? Yes. Yeah? Sir? Vice Chancellor will go, everyone will go. And it may be if we start a journey at 4:30 in the morning, we can attend a conference there in Sylhet, we can reach again at 10 p.m. in Guwahati. There will be no problem.
It's a workable, doable proposition. The Assistant High Commissioner, if he is facilitating, UGC definitely can be another facilitator in Bangladesh. And Sylhet is not very far away. I said you can go in the morning, come back in the evening, but I would not stress or push up to that. Don't go in the morning and come back in the evening. Stay there a day or two, spend some time. And Sylhet is a lovely place. Sylhet is a lovely place. And it has so many ties with Assam, Meghalaya, Karimganj, all these places. I know many of the people in Sylhet whose in-laws or whose parents, maternal uncles, lives in this side of the border. And I know many people from this side of the border whose the other half of the family lives on the other side of the border. So definitely this is something that we can do it. The Assistant High Commissioner has to just write to us saying that he's planning to do this. And Sylhet Shah Jalal University of Science and Technology has been recognized as #1 research university in the country. #1 research university in the country. It has an excellent campus. And he talked about the circuit house. Sylhet Circuit House is as good as a 3-star hotel. Okay? So the logistics are there. You need to just have the effort. And I cannot say how many vice chancellors I can bring in. Sometimes there were instances where I could bring in more than 90 vice chancellors in Dhaka. Because when UGC asked vice chancellor to do a certain thing, they take it very seriously. Sometimes they take it more seriously than the Minister of Education. So because we know the universities knows us, we work very closely. So definitely we will do our best to get together as many vice chancellors as possible. Sylhet itself has 4 or 5 vice chancellors. Okay? Sylhet itself has 4 or 5 vice chancellors. Sylhet has an excellent mode of transport with the rest of the country. So it will not be a big problem. This is a good proposition. We can definitely try and do that, and UGC can always be a good facilitator along with our Western High Commissioner in Guwahati. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And we would like our Education Minister also to give his comments.
Well, if you are a politician, you are always there to build a cat. I could hear Dr. Mannan, a diplomatic answer. I could hear Abdul Saab, and his was one, what is expected of a chairman of a UGC. But ultimately, it's the politician who have to build a cat. Well, the proposition, on serious note, the proposition that has been made is very good. There shouldn't be any logistical problem, neither there should be any other issues also involved. So why not? Let proposal come. We will definitely see that it reaches its final conclusion, and definitely it's a proposition which is worth taking. So I welcome the suggestion that has been made, and hopefully we'll be able to realize it. Thank you.
Just a matter of information, the current Education Minister of Bangladesh, he is from Sylhet. He is from Sylhet. But as our election is around the corner, I would not say do it in one month. After the election, definitely it will be much more easier to do that. Thank you. These are a collection of some of my writings on education. Because it was hurriedly done, there are quite a few mistakes. I have once done, I will give you, I will send the new ones, the corrected ones. There are some mistakes. Anyway, thank you again for this wonderful, what should we say, gesture.